Early intervention services are grant funded under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. Early intervention is a federally regulated system of supports and services for infants and toddlers, birth to age 3, and their families. Early intervention services are authorized under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, or IDEA 2004. In order to understand early intervention services, it is important to recognize some of the historical laws that preceded IDEA. The Education of All Handicapped Children Act, or Public Law 94-142, which was enacted in 1975, is perhaps the most significant act in the history of education in regard to children with disabilities. With roots in the Supreme Court ruling on segregation, Brown v. Board of Education, in which it was decided that separate is not equal, the Education of All Handicapped Children Act mandated a free, appropriate public education for all children with disabilities from 5 to 21 years of age. Through a series of reauthorizations, the Education of All Handicapped Children Act was extended to children with disabilities from 3 to 21 years of age. In 1986, provisions were put in place to provide incentives to states to provide services to children from birth to 3 years of age. In 1990, the Education of All Handicapped Children Act was renamed and became the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. Early intervention services were Part H of IDEA. In 1997, IDEA was reauthorized and Part H became Part C, Programs for Infants and Toddlers with Disabilities. There are 4 parts to IDEA. Part A. General provisions includes the purposes of law, definitions, and congressional findings. Part B. Assistance for education of all children with disabilities contains requirements for providing special education and related services to children with disabilities, ages 3 to 21. It also includes Section 619, the Preschool Grants Program, which describes funding for states to offer special education and related services for children ages 3 to 5 with disabilities. Part C. Infants and toddlers with disabilities include the requirements to provide services for infants and toddlers and their families. Part D. National activities to improve education of children with disabilities includes information to assist state educational agencies in reforming and improving their systems for personnel preparation and professional development in early intervention. For our purposes, we will be focusing on Part C of IDEA. Part C, Early Intervention for Infants and Toddlers with Disabilities, was established because Congress found that there was an urgent and substantial need to enhance the development of infants and toddlers with disabilities, to minimize their potential for developmental delay, and to recognize the significant brain development that occurs during a child's first 3 years of life. The purposes for IDEA Part C are to enhance the development of infants and toddlers with disabilities, reduce educational costs by minimizing the need for special education through early intervention, minimize the likelihood of institutionalization and maximize independent living, and enhance the capacity of families to meet their child's needs. Federal regulations provide details about how states and territories must implement the Part C Early Intervention Program. However, IDEA allows states and territories flexibility in designing their early intervention system. Part C is discretionary, meaning that all states and territories are not required to provide Part C services. While states and territories are not required to provide Part C services, currently all do. Once a state or territory agrees to participate in Part C and accepts the federal funds, Part C functions as an entitlement program for qualified children and families within the state or territory. This means that if a child's Individualized Family Service Plan, or IFSP, identifies the need for a specific early intervention service, the Part C system is responsible for ensuring that the service is provided. In the next chapter, you will be watching a video that describes how Virginia implements IDEA Part C through the Infant and Toddler Connection of Virginia.